Hey guys, how the hell are you? Welcome back to Arnold Drinks. My name is Arnold, and tonight I drink. So today, I finally get the chance to try something that I've been very curious about. I've always heard people talk very great things about Barrell and the various blends that they come up with. Of course, everyone knows about the very hallowed seagrass, rye whiskey, but I'm not trying that today. I'm actually trying one of the brand new private release blends that just recently came out. This is CH07. It is 114.2 proof, which means it's 57.1% alcohol by volume. This is a blend of several different age statements, ranging anywhere from 5 years to 15 years, if I remember correctly. And this one is finished in a Pedro Jimenez sherry cask, so something that I'm already rather familiar with as far as various whiskeys that I've had. But now I get to actually try one of these awesome and unique Barrell private releases finished in one of those casks. So let's just get right on into it. Let's check this sucker out. Appearance wise, it's looking extremely oily and viscous on the inside of the Glencairn. Oh my. Some very sweet caramel and peach notes that are coming through right off the bat from the first aromas. Bit of cherry in there. Just a hint of like an oaky spiciness that's in there too in the aroma. Oh, that smells very nice. There's definitely an alcohol tinge in there as well. So definitely a little bit of an ethanol hint, but something that is kind of carrying with it that sweet note. So I have very high hopes for this. Let's have a taste. Oh, that's nice. So first of all, there's definitely some sharp and very hard-hitting astringency to it. So you need to go into that with some sort of understanding. There's a very dry thing that's happening, especially in the finish. A very dry, oaky finish. A bit of spice coming through too, like a baking cinnamon, baking spice. There's a little bit of anise there as well. In the initial palate, there's definitely a lot of that same peach note that I was getting initially. There's also a lot of toffee and caramel in there. Kind of a buttery toffee note. Let's go in for another sip. Oh, that is very nice. Part of me wants to attribute the sharpness that I'm getting a little bit to a neck pour thing, because when I first got this, I poured myself a dram that night because I was so anxious to try this out, and I did notice the sharpness there as well. It's still very intense here, but admittedly not quite as intense as it was that night. It has been about a week since I purchased this, so it's been sitting on the shelf a little bit, getting a little bit of time, getting a little bit more acclimated to the Tolka up here, my shelf behind me, and just kind of letting it sit for a little bit, letting it rest, and it's definitely starting to mellow out, but it's not mellowed enough in my opinion. It's got a really nice oaky and leathery thing that's happening on the back end. It's not a brutal oakiness, it's not a huge leather note, but it's just a little bit that's in there that the astringency is kind of carrying with it, kind of coming along with that sort of honey and peach note that's on the front end. Let's go in for another sip. And on that sip, a heck of a lot more of a cinnamon note came through on the front of my tongue. So there's definitely a sort of cinnamon spiciness to it. Not a sort of candy-like cinnamon, but like a baking-like cinnamon. So something that's being tempered by that sort of honey and peachy note that's no doubt coming from the sherry finishing. But there's a lot of caramel, a lot of toffee, a lot of kind of a buttery note that's in there. A little grainy, but that's being very much overshadowed by that sort of floral, wildflower, honey thing that's happening. There's a little bit of nuttiness that's also trying to creep in there a little bit too, but mostly a sort of rye spice thing that's happening. So I'm not sure what the mash bills are that were blended in with this, but definitely getting a rye spice note. Not going to belabor the point anymore. This is one that's kind of not really changing so much from sip to sip, with the exception of so much cinnamon coming through on that last sip. It's pretty much been extremely consistent all throughout. A bit of sharpness, a bit of astringency, that leathery, tobacco-y kind of dry finish happening too, but still carrying with it that floral honey note too. It's just all around a great whiskey. Would I say that it's worth what I paid for it? That would be a stretch. I'm not being wowed by this just yet, so I think it needs a little bit more time on the shelf for me to make that judgment call. But right now I would say that, yeah, I kind of wish I wouldn't have spent so much on it. So thank you guys so very much for tuning in. Please remember to like this video, subscribe to this channel, tons more of this content to come. And as always, remember, take what you do seriously, but do not take yourselves too seriously.